Good morning, everybody. And welcome to the pre-race poll with Chris Wormy here. We're going to be talking everything that we need to know about the Pocono race. Let's start with the most important thing. Let's get this pre-race cheers out of the way. Let's see if we can make some money. Let's hope with, about 10 laps to go. It's a long track, so maybe we'll wait with 10 laps to go till we start chanting the old stay green, making sure that not only our bets stay green, but also the race does. So let's do this pre-race poll. I'm drinking another Lone Tree. I love these. These are dry cider. It's great for the morning. Sound a little alcoholic-y there, but all right. So here's the pre-race poll for Pocono, everybody. Cheers. All right. Well, first of all, how awesome is it that we get to do this every week now? This is great. Get to watch NASCAR racing, hopefully make some money. Thanks for hopping in here. Like I said, I want to go over the rules again for the pre-race poll. Number one, this is a very important rule. If there is any breaking news on Twitter while I'm doing this, you have to tell me. I need to know because right now I'm concentrating on, talking about the race. So if there's any breaking news, please let me know, whether it's, weather or whatever. You guys will know if there's breaking news. That's rule number one. Number two, don't ask me for picks. I've already made most of my plays. Actually, I might make more. This is kind of an interesting morning with all the news that's out there. The race goes in an hour. It was going to go in an hour and a half. So already kind of back up against the wall there. I try to live by this, easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life. So I got up early this morning and I went for a run thinking, hey, this is a hard choice, but I'm going to be better off because of it. And then my phone just goes nuts. And I see that Ty Gibbs will be filling in for Kurt Busch. So then I had to make the choice, well, do I cut my run short or do I keep going? So I made the hard choice and just stopped running and came home. So thank you, Ty Gibbs and Kurt Busch, for cutting my run short. I appreciate that. Another rule, if you disagree with me and you want to call me an idiot, you are absolutely entitled to do that. You just have to give me a reason. You just can't say, I disagree. I mean, you can disagree if you want, but, do I have comments? Oh, I want to see comments here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's the most important thing is if you do disagree, I want to know. Yesterday is a perfect example. Had a little bit of a disagreement with someone in the Xfinity race yesterday, someone that I respect their opinion, someone that's, makes money betting on the sport, someone that I truly respect on Twitter as just someone that wins. And we had kind of a disagreement and we were able to kind of talk through it, and not because it's us versus them, right? It's us versus the odds makers. I want to make sure that we're making the right decision. And if he was right, I wanted to unwind my positions. It had to do with Cole Custer. And I thought he was going to be good, during the week, and he wasn't. He was pretty bad in practice. And so I faded him pretty heavily across the board. And someone on Twitter, like I said, that I respected, disagreed. He thought that they were going to fix the car. So immediately, I know I jumped on and talked to Skybox and Rory. I know that Rory probably has a couple of Coors lattes already, or no, you Busch lattes, right? And we were able to figure out what was right and what was wrong, and we were able to make the right decision and make money. And that's why I want to do this, is if people do have an opinion, if you're on this live stream, I probably respect your opinion. So if you do disagree, just let me know why, and we can work through it. The goal is to make money for all of us, not just, it's not about ego. We want to make sure we get it right, Let's see. Okay, Kurt Busch, and what do we think about this Ty Gibbs? He is going to be in a race car that was okay in practice. To me, it looked like the Toyotas fell off a little bit, but it's so hard here because if you have clean air in practice, you're going to have fast lap times. So certain guys looked really, really fast, and other guys that you would think should have been fast weren't, and you kind of had to pay attention to where they were running on the track. Obviously, the 45 car it's good. It's not a great car. I mean, Kurtz typically runs decent here, not great. He's actually qualified well here in the past. but hasn't. Well, I'm looking at the last 4 races, by the way, when I say in the past. But an average finish of 14th. Yesterday, Ty obviously was really good in Xfinity. And the only reason that Noah was able to stay out in front of him is Noah did have 2 right side tires that were fresher. And that's why you saw, Ty really struggled to get underneath him and make that pass, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, but the fact that Ty ran him down a little bit shows me that, hey, he knows how to get around this racetrack. So he'll be starting from the back. And here's the thing, Ty in the Xfinity series, yesterday was probably the cleanest race I've ever seen him run. Him and Noah, by the way. Kind of ironic that those 2 guys were actually able to race side by side at a place where it's really hard. Even the tunnel turn, to race side by side there is not easy. Usually someone gives, and they raced really respectfully, which is weird. It almost sounds weird coming out of my mouth saying that Ty Gibbs and Noah Gragson raced respectfully. I don't know. Here's the thing. I think that if Ty Gibbs is super aggressive, I don't think he's gonna be able to finish the race. What happens when Ty Gibbs can't pass Ricky Stenhouse in 18th place? I don't know. He's never been in 18th place in his life. When was the last time Ty Gibbs was in 18th place? That guy has never been outside the top 5 in his entire life. He's been in the top 5. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in practice. I've been very critical of him as a driver where people are just trying to rush him up to the Cup Series. Now, I understand that this is a special scenario where Kurt Busch had the concussion symptoms, and we hope that he's doing well. But I'll be interested if Ty Gibbs can show some patience and work his way through the field. I'll be really impressed. I think that the car's fast enough to make passes. It will take some time for him to get used to this package and this car, which races very differently, but also easier to drive than an Xfinity car. So we'll see. He's not going to be racing in, top 5 equipment like he does every single week his entire life. So we'll see. I'd like to see him post some matchups. I don't know who you'd match him up against. I see the top 10s on DraftKings. So for the top 10, here's the thing. Is there an against price on that? Because I would bet not top 10. If they're going to offer Ty Gibbs plus 100 on the top 10, I would like to bet him minus 130 to not finish in the top 10, if I had to guess. So, yeah, I'm not rushing to bet Ty Gibbs. If you want to do it, you can. I just don't know. I don't have a good explanation. I don't think Kurt Busch had a top 10 car, and I think Kurt Busch is a better driver than Ty Gibbs. That's my thought process. So there's not an against price. So that's really, really tough. He could. I'm not betting it. And not that I'm always right or always wrong, but I don't have to get up early and go to work because I'm hopefully right more than wrong. And I'm not ready to invest in Ty Gibbs, and he could, maybe he will, but I'm not. So let's see. You mentioned something. You guys don't see the comments. At least I don't know if you do. You mentioned something on Twitter that live odds could be extremely lucrative here with the 18, 11, 9, and 5 running up front. Could you give some insight to your live odds process? Okay. You guys do see the comments. All right. So my thought here on live betting, and I am not playing an outright before the race. I'd rather see how the race is unfolding. I want to make sure, are they going to be able to pass? I mean, I don't know. Passing's been really hard in NASCAR for a long time. Does Chastain kind of go up through the field? He was really fast in practice. I don't know. I think that strategy is more important than having a fast race car today. So I would make sure that if you're looking at live odds, that you're backing guys where you think that they have the winning strategy. And by the way, the announcers sometimes can be a little misleading. So trust your gut. Don't necessarily trust the announcers. When I say that there might be value on other guys, it's because of the price elasticity that I talked about a little bit on the podcast, the Bet the Board pod stay green with Todd Furman. You have to realize that certain guys, when they run up front, their live odds drop instantly. And then once they're even competitive, let's just say that they're running in the top 3 or 4, even leading laps, you're not going to see those guys get above the whatever price it is. So last week, the example was Larson. Larson was up 4 spots, running in the top 5, and he was 11-1. And once the books kind of see Larson running well, they'll drop his odds to 6-1. I don't think you saw his odds jump up again until you saw him fade a little bit. But guys like Larson, guys like Chase, I think now you'll see it with Chris Bell. If Chris Bell gets to lead, that kind of recency bias, I'm sure that odds makers will keep that in their head. And so here's the thing with the 18, the 11, and the 9 starting in the top 3, those prices are going to be pretty short. They already are, by the way. They're all 5 and 6-1. Those odds are going to stay that way, I would imagine, for the most part all day. And then whoever gets out to the lead and leads the first few laps, you're going to see odds drop to probably 3-1 on whoever looks like the best. Well, when that happens, in order to maintain a proper hold, they're going to have to raise the odds of other guys, because if you go from 3-1 to 2-1, you're gonna increase the hold pretty drastically. So you'll see guys, that are maybe mid-pack that are gonna have more value on them. So that's what I mean is it's not necessarily the odds live that you're betting is less how fast the car is in the middle of the pack, and it's more about who's leading. In my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, and there could be other sports books that look at this differently, but that's just my own opinion. So I'm not going to play any outrights, mainly because I just think that this is a really hard track to predict. I think speed is a smaller part of the equation than strategy. How many times have we seen the fastest car not win here because they either ran out of fuel or they blew a tire off of turn 3? Oof, man, if you had Kyle Larson last year in race 1, oof, that's brutal. So, and then to have Kyle Busch win without first, second, or third gear, like, how perfect did that race have to play out? He was the only one that could make it on fuel. I mean, so this is such a strategy laden race that I just don't see. I don't see any argument for guys at shorter prices. If you want to take, I don't think that there's anything wrong with taking guys that are a little bit more flyers. If you wanted to look at like a Chris Bell or Tyler Reddick, I think those guys can be competitive. Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, even those guys were pretty good in practice. I could see them potentially winning the race if they get out front, but they have to be on the right strategy. So if you're not on the right strategy, it doesn't matter how fast your car is. Look at Joey Logano last week. I mean, we won a matchup, because he had the wrong strategy. He had to pit with, 5 to go or something, and ended up, I don't even know what he finished, but it couldn't have been that good. Whereas a guy like Kurt Busch, he was on the same strategy. He decided to pit with 30 to go, and he finished 10th. So the risk reward there was pretty huge between Logano and Kurt Busch. So let's get on to guys that I think. Does anybody have any more Ty Dillon questions? I'd like to see him run a race kind of like Kevin Harvick. I'd like to see him kind of methodically work his way up through the field, showing that he can make passes. When his car's going away from him a little bit, he's just kind of happy to be riding around and not losing positions. And then he can be aggressive, when he has fresh tires or wherever he feels like his car is comfortable. So that's kind of my take on Ty, but I'm excited to see it. I think it's great. I'd love to see some matchups. That would have been awesome to see some Ty Dillon matchups. I don't know who you match him up against. Maybe like Cindric, Stenhouse. I don't know. Maybe Austin Dillon. I don't know. The Battle of the Golden Spoons, Austin Dillon. And anyway, guys that I think they win the race. Ross Chastain. I think that he could win. Kyle Larson. I know this is going to be like the obvious thing. I'm just talking about lap times in practice. Yes, Ross Chastain and Kyle Larson can win the race. Reddick was kind of good. This is one of those weeks where Reddick unload well. Perfect. I like it when Reddick's in the mix. I think it's good for the sport. I really like Tyler Reddick. Chase Elliott was really good, and oh, by the way, he's hot, for whatever that's worth. Denny Hamlin. Yeah, I think that the Golden Spoon matchup is perfect. Like, I don't know, maybe I get in trouble for that. I don't know. I don't want to like make it ruffle any feathers, but it is kind of interesting that Austin Dillon and Ty Gibbs. Yeah, and then so Denny Hamlin obviously on the pole. The one thing with Hamlin is everyone's saying he started on the pole, he's got a fast car, but he lost his pit selection. So Kyle Busch has that first pit stall. That's a lot more important than starting on the pole. Like Kyle Busch is the winner in that scenario. Chris Bell, I mean, same thing with Chris Bell every week. I wouldn't be shocked if he won. I wouldn't be shocked if he was terrible. I don't know. Just he'll figure it out, I would say. I was kind of shocked that the Fords were not very good. I thought William Byron was kind of average, and I know there's a lot of people on William Byron, other like betting syndicates, and I just don't see it. But I could be missing something. Eric Jones was super fast in practice, man. But poor qualifying and in that penalty, that's a pretty significant penalty. How much is that going to change his car? And just because of the unknowns there, I'm out. I not that I think he's going to be bad, or I can't back him. There's no reason to risk that, in my opinion. I think this is Alex Bowman looks good. Alex Bowman looks fast. And then Daniel Suarez, although he didn't make many long runs, he was even though he didn't make long runs, I thought Suarez was pretty good, and he runs well here. He's run well here when he was back in the Gibbs stuff. So I could see him doing something similar to that today. But like I said, you have to be on the right strategy, and what guys are going to stay out and win stages, and what guys are going to, undercut and try to get track position, and is someone like Ross Chastain even be able to do that coming from the rear? You got to be within 12 seconds to undercut the stage and not lose a lap. So for everyone that thinks that just Ross Chastain is going to, get track position eventually, hold the phone. I don't know that's not, you have to be within 12 seconds of the leaders in order to pit under green and keep your lap. So you saw it last year where Chris Bell tried to do that, and then they had a slow pit stop and he lost a lap. Yeah, he was a lucky dog, but he had to start tail end of the longest line, which is way different than just being one lap down, or way, way different than being the tail end of the lead lap. You don't have to start behind those lap down cars. Any chance Harvick finds his way to the top 5? Well, Blake, 0. I think there's a 0% chance Kevin Harvick finds his way in the top 5. Here's my thoughts on Harvick. Last week, I was heavy on him. I thought he was great. He was really bad on the short run, kind of plowing. And that's when a lot of guys make up positions. I don't think that Harvick is going to be able to do that. He might be great on the long run, but that's going to be so marginal relative to the amount of positions you can pick up during, on a restart or the first couple laps of a restart. So I am not high on Harvick. And if you go to bettheboardpodcast.com, I think you'll see a matchup that I have, 2 matchups actually on there that you can check out. bettheboardpodcast.com. There's 2 picks on there. Make sure you take a look at the prices. I think, unfortunately, some of them moved significantly. So next question. We saw Bubba qualify and race well last week. He qualified 8th. Toyota as a whole seemed very strong in qualifying. How should we approach Bubba today? Well, that's a question, Derek. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this. I have 2 sons. One son, his name's Todd Furman, and then my other son is Derek. So, so Derek, thanks for your comment. Bubba, I am, when it comes to Bubba, man, he was all right in practice, I thought. He did qualify well. His car wasn't as good in practice this weekend as it was last weekend. Now, I was really shocked at, thanks, Rob. I was really shocked at the finish that Bubba had last week. I don't think the speed is in the race car this week, though. I think he'll struggle to be in the top 10. would be my guess. I know he's 7th. I'm not super high on Bubba. I don't trust him quite yet, just because I'd rather. He's the only times he's really good is when he looks really good in practice, and he didn't look really good. He looked okay. And I think when Bubba has an okay race car, he struggles. If he has a good race car, he can be good. But I think he struggles with an average race car, kind of like a William Byron tends to struggle, where you see guys like Bowman actually kind of horse their car around a little bit better. You can see Bell do the same thing. Kyle Larson does the same thing. Ross Chastain. I think Chase Elliott doesn't. I don't think Chase Elliott takes a bad car and makes it a good car. I think that those adjustments, he needs kind of a perfect car in order to be good. And fortunately, man, he has had a perfect car the last couple weeks. Well, Rob, old worldwide Wob here chiming in. World's biggest NASCAR fan that nobody knows about. Well, I just have great hair product. That's all I can say. The best hair product on earth. So that's kind of my take on. Do we have any other questions on guys or any other bets? I kind of want to only go for another 5 or 10 minutes here, just because the race does start, in 39 minutes, and I want to make sure that if there are plays or if someone does bring up something that, maybe we need to get down on, I want to make sure I'm able to do that. I was kind of shocked at the Fords, man, struggling a little bit. Eric Almirola was probably the fastest in SHR, which is, at a track where Harvick is really good. I mean, Harvick is really good here. And let's just see where Harvick qualifies. How does he qualify here? Well, his average qualifying is 11.3 the last 4 races, and his average finish is 3.8. I just I don't see the speed out of Harvick. I just don't. Not at all. Thoughts on Truex? That's a good question. I know that him and Kyle were kind of around each other in practice, and Kyle was faster than Truex. Truex has momentum, and he does run well here, but his cars were. I can't remember the year. It was the year that Buescher won the race. Is the last time I saw Martin Truex be really, really good here. He kind of runs where he runs. His average qualifying is 11th, and his average finish is 11th. So, I'd kind of expect him to run in that 8 to 12 to 1 or 8 to 12 to 1. Sorry about that. 8 to 12th place would kind of be my guess on where I'd expect him to run. But, I've been wrong on Truex before. He just doesn't look like he has just that raw speed that Kyle Busch and Chris Bell have. And I think that, Denny's all right relative to Truex, or he's probably a little better than Truex, in my opinion, this week. And obviously that starting position really helps. But I'm not super high on Truex relative to the last couple of weeks when I've been very, very high on him. Very high on him. So I guess one thing that we should talk about is, anybody have any other ideas about, we've seen, Truex was probably the best car last week on the short, medium runs. And then you saw Harvick really come to life on the super long runs, the typical Harvick stuff. But the one thing that I was kind of shocked, I thought that Truex would be able to work his way back up through the field when he lost some track position. And this is kind of an ongoing theme. If guys are out there leading a ton of laps for the first half of the race, as soon as they get shuffled back, they don't recover very well. And man, they go from saying, "Don't touch my car," to, "Man, am I tight? I can't pass anybody." And then they never make their way back up. I was kind of shocked. I thought that Truex would kind of be able to carve through the field a little more quickly than he did. And you just saw 4 tires prevail last week, which is, when in doubt, always take 4, which is kind of weird because I know Kevin Harvick always likes to take 4. I think if he takes 4 there, he wins. And then I would have woken up with gout because I would have had so much red wine, lobster, and steak that was my goal, was to wake up with gout. Instead, I just had some lobster roll. Kind of had to settle for cheap sushi. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on Truex. Just kind of meh. I know that there's some matchups. I think, I know there's matchups like Chastain's matched up against him, and I think Chastain's better, But I just don't know. I don't know how he's going to work his way up there. And if he gets caught on kind of the wrong cycle, it's going to be really hard for strategy perspective for Chastain to get in the mix. Now, I do have Chastain. That's, I guess, full disclosure. I bet him there was an opener on a website that opened a little higher than I thought. I didn't think he'd be that good, but I was literally just taking a number. So I think it's going to be tough. He's going to have to get on the right strategy, but I do think he can win some matchups if you're looking to find something on Chastain. That's for sure. I just think he could win the race though, for sure. He's just going to have to get lucky with strategy. Oh, all the Kurt Busch stuff, you're just going to get refunded. No one needs to worry about that. You'll definitely get refunded. And then for everyone that was struggling last week with Caesars and not paying out the proper price, that stuff always gets taken care of. You don't need to stress out about that. If it doesn't, there's like a gaming commission for a reason. You can file a formal complaint and usually everything gets taken care of. So don't stress about that. If you ever do have an issue, just shoot me a DM and we can make sure that we resolve it. And it's not like I'm going to get it resolved, but I'll be able to reach out to the people that can get it resolved. So you never have to worry about that. If someone does, in my opinion, you're free rolling on Kurt Busch. If you do have Kurt Busch in matchups, maybe someone does grade that, a loser. Well, that's not going to happen. Never mind. It's not going to happen. There's like no scenario where you just don't get refunded. But I would like to see some Ty Gibbs matchups. I think that would be awesome. That would be a fun bet, like a community bet. Like, hey, we're all going to go on one side here. Let's have a community wager. I would take Ty Gibbs over Austin Dillon. I would. At just -110 both sides. I don't know. Yeah. That might be pretty even. So, all right. Well, I appreciate everybody joining today. If there's no more questions or anything, I got nothing. Do have a few matchups. Go to @bettheboardpodcast.com and check out some of the stuff we've released. I know that the prices might not be there on a couple of those matchups. Those go quickly. So, try to pay attention to Twitter in the mornings and see if you can grab some value, because these lines move pretty quickly. Let me pull up the screen here. Oops. What? Oh, there we go. Oh, hey, they actually posted Indy matchups today. Norm Benning's going to be happy about that if you're watching. Shout out to Henry. I know he's watching. Yeah, some of these lines have moved pretty drastically. I know that the Kurt Busch ones have been canceled, so you should get refunded there. But Austin Dillon or Keselowski? Well, I think that this one is I'm not interested in this particular bet. Austin Dillon's faster, and Brad Keselowski's better at this track. Brad is such an unknown this year. And, yesterday I committed to saying that the reason I thought Cole Custer was the best bet yesterday is it wasn't necessarily going to be about horsepower. It was going to be about the basically how you get off turn 3. And I thought that the car that handles the best and gets off turn 3 for that long pond straightaway is usually the car that can make the most passes and stay up front or get up front. Now I've changed my mind. I don't think that that's going to matter for cars that are just off on speed. I think that Brad's a little bit off on speed this week relative to Austin Dillon. Not much, but he also does race way better. So I don't know what's going to happen with that one. There's not a clear side. There's only a few matchups. I'm very matchup light this week. Very matchup light. I think, a couple matchups on legals and then a couple or only one on the screen for me this week. So pretty light. And I'm happy with that because this race let's think about this. Let's just run through a scenario of how this race really gets away from good cars. Let's say the the leaders, come to pit road. Let's just say it's under a longer green flag run, right? If you're undercutting the stage, that's different because that's going to happen be over a 1 or 2 lap, with 2 laps to go and with 3 laps to go, depending on your running position. But that last stage, you will have to pit under green, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if it does stay green, you will have to pit under green flag conditions. If you stay out 1 lap too late, the leaders, let's just say they want to have enough fuel for a green-white checker, and they decide that they're going to wait 2 laps to pit, and kind of everyone else, let's just say there's 10 cars that pit that can barely make it, right? So they'll make it to the end, but they might need a caution, whatever. And those leaders stay out. Let's just say 5 of the top 5 are staying out, and everyone else behind them pits. If there's a caution before those leaders pit, they will be behind all of those cars that just pitted that didn't lose a lap. And if there's 5 or 10 of them, good luck. And that's how this race can get away from you so quickly. So I think this is a strategy race. For those of you that are paying attention live, there could be some value. Other than that, I'm okay with this being kind of a light card, kind of moving forward. But I'll be interested to see what happens. I'm really interested to see what Ty Gibbs has to say or how he does. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and I will see you guys next week. I don't know what time it'll be. Fuel windows 44. First stage is 30 laps. That's the other thing too is, who's going to stay out at stage 1 and then just kind of pit if they can make it to stage 2 off of 1 stop, but you might be able to make it all the way to the end of stage 2. I don't have the stages in front of me. Now I feel a little unprepared. I don't know what the winning strategy is going to be. I don't know if you're going to be able to pass, and I don't think anyone does. So anyone that's super sure, let me know. But I just don't know I don't know that you can predict that. I also don't know if you can pass. I would think that if you get inside of a guy and maybe take a little air off that rear spoiler, that you might be easier to pass than we saw yesterday in the Xfinity Series. I don't know. So this will be a little bit interesting. So with that, let's hope we get to the point where we're saying, hey, stay green, baby, because when that happens, that means we're all making money. Our bank accounts make money. They stay green, and we don't have to worry about wanting a caution in order to win. There's nothing worse than begging for a caution. So no begging today. Stay green. Cheers. This is the pre-race poll. We'll see you next week.